Back in December 2021 and January 2022, COMC ran an event called the No Minimum Bid Auction event that at that time helped me sell quite a lot of cards for quite a decent little profit. I had made several videos back then highlighting what I was doing and how well it was working for me. Well, COMC has been offering this same event once again 2 years later during December 2023 and January 2024, and I once again submitted a lot of cards for sale through this method. But did it work this time like it worked for me 2 years ago? Is this something you should consider submitting cards to if they offer this event again? In this video, we'll find out. Spoiler, things are not the same as they once were. So first, what exactly is this event? The event is called the No Minimum Bid Auction event. This is a way to auction cards on COMC through the eBay platform for a lot less in fees than usual. In most occasions outside of this event, COMC requires you first to pay $2 to upgrade your card into an elite category in order to allow it to be running for auction on eBay, and it also gives it a nicer scan when it does that. And then once the card sells on eBay, they take a 3.5% auction transaction fee from that final sales price. However, the caveat with that, 3.5% doesn't sound bad, but the caveat is there's a minimum amount of $3.50. So if you sell it for $1, they're going to charge you $3.50, meaning you lose money. If you sell it for $50, they're going to charge you $3.50. If you sell it for $100, they're going to charge you $3.50. And then after $100, it's just whatever 3.5% is. So during regular times, the absolute minimum charge COMC will charge you is $5.50 per card in total, including that upgrade fee, including the minimum auction fee. So with that much of a price, it's really not worth sending a card off for auction that's going to be selling for under, I don't know, $50 or so. Like if you sell a card that sells for $20 and you've paid $5.50 in fees, that's a very high percentage. So it's really not worth it in most cases for most situations. If it's $50, maybe it's okay. It's not such a big deal. But during the No Minimum Bid Auction event, these fees are so much less. First of all, you don't have to pay the $2 upgrade fee. You also don't get the nicer scan, which is unfortunate, but you don't have to pay that $2. And then you also don't have to pay a $3.50 minimum auction fee. You just pay 3.5% of the auction, whatever that ends up being. So if you sell a card for $10, that's just a 35-cent auction fee. That's very little. Plus you also, when you submit the card originally, you do have to spend 75 cents for the auction submission fee. So that's automatic. No matter what, you have to pay that 75 cents plus whatever 3.5% is on top of that. Now let me break this down with a couple of examples just so you can see the massive difference this can mean. So in normal card, let's say a card that sells on auction for $20 would have required you to have paid $5.50 in total fees, which again, the $2 elite submission, $3.50 minimum auction submission, meaning that you end up with $14.50. But in the minimum auction event, that would have been a 75-cent submission fee plus 3.5% of the $20 sale, which is 70 cents, meaning the total fees taken for that card were just $1.45 instead of $5.50. $1.45 is only 7.25% of the sale, which is much less than if I had even sold that card on eBay myself on my own personal account, since eBay normally charges 13.25% plus 30 cents per sale as their normal base rate for sports cards. So this is even a better deal than selling it yourself on eBay. The fees are so little that even auctioning off cards that will sell for just like $5 becomes a viable option. A $5 card that would cost you 75 cents in submission fees and 3.5% of $5 is like 18 cents. So the total fees for that $5 sale is only 93 cents, even if it was just a $5 sale. If in normal times a card sold for $5, you would have spent $2 on upgrading it to Elite. You would have spent $3.50 on the minimum fee. You would have lost 50 cents on that $5 sale. So as you can see, there's some real potential upside with this event. It's really the only event for COMC's regular eBay auctions that I've ever used heavily. In fact, I don't like the other auction events in general. And I have mentioned some things in the videos in the past when they have like a week-long auction event in relation to, I don't know, the start of the NBA season or whatever. I don't like submitting cards to those events because it creates an influx of supplies for the auction, but it doesn't really do that much to increase the number of buyers. So a lot of cards fall through the cracks. This, because it lasts over a month, it lasts over 2 months, there is more cards being submitted, but it's over a longer period of time, so it's a little bit less of an influx than those week-long events can be. But anyway, we'll get into that later. This year, this time around when I did it, it was quite different than back in December 2021 and January 2022. So back then, I had sold 253 cards through the auction event, and it worked really great. I think I came out to a profit of, I can't remember exactly, but it was like $600 or $800, which at that time in the early stages of me using this COMC was actually a lot. It's changed. I've learned more, and I'm using it more, and I'm making more money on the platform now than I was then. But for that time, that was really great, especially considering a lot of these cards were cards that were kind of stale. They were cards that had been sitting in my inventory and weren't selling. And I did this, and a lot of them sold, and they did pretty well. And cards that I thought I was going to end up losing money on, I did make profit on, and it really worked great for me. And ever since that time, I've always been looking forward to this specific event happening again. I was excited when I heard that it was going to be happening because it took 2 years before they did it again. But let's see if I should have been excited. So let's look at the numbers and see how this worked out for me this time around. I once again was mostly using this event to offload stale inventory. That's the purpose of this event for me, as far as I'm concerned. Although there were also some cards that could auction, that I thought would auction for about $10 or $20 in that range, that I decided to auction off in this event as well, just because I thought maybe this was a good spot to move some additional inventory a little bit quicker. I'm going to have 5 weeks of data that I'm going to be sharing here. It's just the entire month of December plus the first week of January. I know it's past that date, but I've been doing a bunch of like crunching of numbers for that period of time for a little while. It took me some time to put this together. So in that period, that 5-week period, I sold 245 cards, so a similar amount to how much I had sold 2 years ago. I'm going to share with you these numbers. A lot of this is going to be estimations. For some of them, if they had sold through the regular COMC auction through this event, or if they had sold through the COMC live stream event, which I mentioned in my last video is something else I've been selling cards on, and you can check out that video if you want. I'll link it here. So it is possible that some of these cards ended up in the wrong category, because COMC does not make it easy to see the difference between cards that sold through a regular 7-day auction and cards that sold through a live auction. So this is going to be some estimations, but let's see what we have. So in total, these 245 cards sold, before considering all the fees, a total of about $1,600. Now, after taking out the various fees to originally submit these cards for the 75 cents per card, that brings this down to about $1,400. But actually, these cards I had originally paid myself and got them submitted into the COMC platform and things like this. I had paid a total of $1,525 for these cards. So for these 245 cards, I lost $125 total. Now, some of this was to be expected. Some cards were more like me offloading inventory and getting something for them, which was better than having them have nothing. But quite a number of these cards just really went for less than what other comps of the same card did. Quite a lot. And I think I have some ideas as to why, which is I will talk about here in a bit. But first, here are some examples of some of the cards really didn't do well when compared to other comparable sale prices of the same cards. This here is the 2021 Panini Select Field Level Cosmic Prism of Travis Etienne. This one sold on an auction for just $16.97. This exact same card had sold for $55.55 just 3 weeks before that. And this exact same card had also sold for a best offer $200 a week before that. So it went for $200 once, it went for $55.55 once, and mine sold for $16.97. Now that's a massive difference. Now timing is part of it, but I think a lot of it has to do with the sheer number of cards that get submitted during the no minimum auction fee event, that it just makes it easier for cards to fall through the crack. In normal times, there are usually no more than 10 pages that you can scroll through on COMC of the auctions that are ending that day, but during this event, there are more than 30 pages each day. That means an extra 2,000 cards above and beyond the normal amount are being auctioned on COMC every day. When there's no event, it's about 1,000 cards being auctioned a day. During this event, it's 3,000 cards being auctioned every single day. With that many cards, it's very easy for some of them to fall through the cracks and barely be seen by anyone. And that's what I think happened to this Select Cosmic card that did so poorly. Let's have a look at a few more as well. This is the 2003-4 Upper Deck Glass Plexiglass Acetate Crystal Collection, numbered out of 100 of Ray Allen, and it sold for just $4.92 during the event. The same card sold for $20.52 just 3 weeks earlier during a regular eBay auction before this event ever happened. And plenty of other cards that should have at least sold for something ended up just getting maybe 1 or 2 bidders and ended up being selling for like 99 cents or $1.04 or something like that. These are not necessarily cards that I was expecting a ton for, but there's something I was expecting something for. Like this 21-22 Crown Royale Crystal Parallel, a rookie of Cade Cunningham, sold for just $1.25. Or this 2022 Select Concourse Dragon Scale of KJ Hamler also just sold for $1.25. A couple of these Dragon Scale cards actually did terribly for me. Now, these aren't big money cards, but I was expecting that they would sell for at least $5 or something like that. In general, in the past, I've oftentimes found COMC's regular auctions on the lower end of the eBay spectrum, the eBay previous sales spectrum. But during this event, they're even lower down on the spectrum of sales. So this was not the best for me. Now, I should pause and mention that it's not only COMC that has cards falling between the cracks on eBay sales. Almost any large sale consigner has cards falling between the cracks. If they're selling 3,000 cards a day, if it's DC Sports Cards, if it's any of these big consigners, they do have cards that fall through the cracks. And I think it's just during COMC's events when they have more cards that they're auctioning off, more of them fall through the cracks. Too much supply makes it difficult for there to be enough people to spend the time seeing what's actually in those piles and piles and pages of cards being auctioned off. So larger consigners tend to have cards fall through the cracks very easily in general. This is one of the reasons I found COMC and other large consigners who auction cards on eBay are actually sometimes the best places to buy cards, not to sell them, but to buy them, hoping to grab up some of those cards that are falling through the cracks. After all that being said, will I continue to use COMC's no minimum auction event in the future? Honestly, probably not nearly as much as I did this time or last time 2 years ago. There may still be some cards that I send for this. For example, if there's a card that's already listed as elite in the COMC system, you don't even have to pay the 75-cent submission fee to submit it. So if I happen to find a card that someone made a mistake on and they had submitted it as an elite card when they really shouldn't have, sometimes I could buy that. And even if it sells for like $2, like I will have made a profit on it. But I'm not going out of my way to finding that sort of thing. If it's during the time when the no minimum auction event is happening and I happen to see a card like that, okay, I'll just grab it up and sell it and then see what happens. But by and large, I'm probably only going to be using this event to offload cards that I don't think will sell on COMC and that I don't want to pay the 25 cents to get them sent back to myself again. So basically, it's just going to be for getting rid of junk in the future that can sell for like $3 or something. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to be using this event much more. I was very excited about using it this time around, and I was very disappointed in how many cards were falling through the cracks. And I went and looked on eBay as well and saw that this was the case for a lot of people. As a buyer, I was buying up a lot of cards when I had time to actually sift through those and find cards to get. I was doing well. But as a seller, this was not very good for me at all. And I'm just moving away from using the regular auctions on COMC in general. There's a few, if it's like a Steph Curry rookie or a bigger card, it can go through a 7-day auction and it doesn't fall through the cracks because people really are looking for that. But anything else that's not something people have like saved in their eBay accounts to be looking for a Giannis rookie or a Jokic rookie or something like that, I probably will never use the regular 7-day auctions through COMC. The live auctions, maybe a little bit more, and I made a video about that last, so if you haven't checked that one out, please do. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Peace.